Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I usually say cautiously optimistic when it comes to buffs, but after what happened with Deadpool X-Force, and even to a certain extent Yondu, if I say cautiously optimistic, I lean more toward the cautious than the optimistic. What makes this month different is that, in theory, Kabam should have more resources geared at one champion, because if you missed my video a couple hours ago, I talked about how Thor Jane Foster was finally, hopefully, getting justice, and of course that led so many of you to ask me a question that frankly it was impossible for me to know the answer to, and that was, okay, Prof, well, if that's the overhaul, who's getting the tune-up? Who's the other champion that could be tweaked? Maybe it's going to be Kamala Khan. It would be all time, Prof, after everything you've talked about these champions for years on your channel, if you called them sisters, and the sisters got a buff at the same time, and I thought, what a great idea. And you can see a lot of people are talking about how they're still skeptical on this forum post thread about it. Baskin Robbins Knows, which is a great name, by the way, said I had almost given up hope. Then again, I still am concerned, given how Deadpool, X-Force, Psycho Man are buffed. Only the All-Father knows. Well, remember, they like to do champions that traditionally are somewhere in the middle between desperately needed and not needed. Now, sometimes they'll take a champion that's already really good, like Nebula, and make her even better, or Human Torch, and make him even better. But a lot of people, I just feel like, have ignored Thor Jane Foster on their roster unless you need to use her for, say, the arena. But other than that, not so much. And you can see this actually comes into play now with the good old, everybody's favorite 2015 rank up gems for the content that we just love to attempt to do, which oftentimes feels like it was designed for 5 stars with the difficulty of 7 stars. But if you've got the 2015 Mystic rank up gem, you're finally gonna get to use it. Now, I will say this, buddy, do you have a 5-star Scarlet Witch? Because that's a no-brainer. A 5-star Scarlet Witch or a 5-star Magic, use that on no matter what. I kind of love how Unstoppable Colossus is on that list too, even though he is exceptionally average. So you'll see generic 4-star Awakening Gem you used on her after 12.0 comp is finally going to pay off. Wow, you used a generic 4-star Awakening Gem on Thor Jane Foster after patch 12.0 completion or compensation? Back then or now? Cursed? You'd feel cursed if you did that. So you keep scrolling down, and eventually you get to our boy Kabam Jax, who is the belle of the ball, the diamond in the rough. We are hoping that he has some good news for us on a second champion. But, sadly, that hope is not going to be met with information that lines up with that reality. Because Kabam Jax says, Summoners, glad to see some excitement about the Jane Foster Thor buff. Let me answer a couple of quick questions. Will there be a second champion buff this month? To the best of my knowledge, we are focused on the Jane Foster rework, and it will be the only one this month. Ruh, ruh. Are all buffs reworks going to coincide with the MCU releases in the future? Not necessarily. It's always exciting to give a little extra love, especially Love and Thunder, to characters that are in the spotlight. But we are not working to match the MCU schedule if it doesn't suit the best interest of the contest. Clearly that's true, or else we would have had Iron Man and Superior Iron Man and OG Black Widow and OG Cap buff by now. And Doctor Strange for sure by now. Will the stun chain receive a rework? I know a lot of you are curious about this one, but I do not have that information. It will be likely only available through the official announcement spotlight. Now, the stun chain is important because that's really why you'd use her now. That's her one bit of utility. That's amazing. And remember how Guillotine, his main utility, or her main utility, I should say, was regeneration. And then when they buffed her, they actually nerfed her, regen, and made her like less useful in some ways. So it would be a shame to buff a champ and not fix a long-standing animation hitbox issue that has plagued her since her release. This is what World Eater is saying. I can't say for sure, but usually the buff rework process requires deep analysis of all mechanics, so it wouldn't surprise me if they address it. That is what we call optimism. We had a Kabam meme in the contest this morning with KT and I for the Evizone contest that featured somebody saying, like, Kabam Jack's basically looking all excited to be on the forums and basically warning, oh, you're walking into Mordor and don't know it. This is a good example of that. Kabam Jacks, don't lose your innocence. Not in this post. And we don't know about new animations either. Just have to say, one of the best things to happen to this game, especially the past year and a half, is this dude right here. One of the things that annoys me to bones is communication, but lately you seem to pop up here and there. It's not always what we want to hear, but you're there. Keep with good work. Don't want any trouble for you and your team. Oh. Wink face. That sounds like something the Mafia would say, Joey Snow. Well, only one buff next month. It better be a good one. That's all I gotta say. Especially because it's also July 4th weekend sales. And several of you have told me in my this is what the last year looked like for July 4th Cyber Weekend Spring Cleaning Specials video that you don't care about any of that. If you aren't getting guaranteed access to Hercules, you're not buying. And my response to that is stay tuned.